Well, I sure hope this is my last talk, because I don't want to do it no more. But I'm just gonna do it because what I fell asleep for a little while. When I woke up, I look, people under there. Well, I know Bill Clinton, for example. You know, there's a lot of people in you know, get powerful, and they take advantage of their like, they take advantage of their power, I guess. Like, see, before Donald Trump was elected president for the first time, a video came out that I forget what it was called, but it was a big deal, you know. He was in there talking to this other guy on this bus. It might be called Access Hollywood or something like that. But anyway, you know, he's actually talking about how when, you know, you're a star, like he became, like, you know, famous kind of person and stuff. And you can do anything you want. And the thing about this is, you know, he said, like, he said, you know, that he just grabbed, like, women, for example, by their crotch, to be polite. And he said, you know, they when you're a star, he said they'll let you do it. You know, he also said one time that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. You know, he has a certain sense of entitlement. And, you know, his arrogance and his sense of entitlement and his bullying nature is what really makes him an enemy in my book. That's how I see him, as being the kind of a person that I don't like. And I don't like, you know, categorize you know, people in terms of friends or foes, or enemies, or whatever the opposite of an enemy is, like a person is on your side or something, I don't know. But you know, it's just a natural kind of inclination that I have. I can pick up on like a dog. Like a dog can pick up on stuff, and, you know, I can pick up on stuff. But I can also be deceived, just like a dog can also be deceived. It's like a dog, you know, can be poisoned. And deception, that's the first lesson that you learn in the Bible about, you know, Eve said to God, when she ate of the fruit, the snake, that serpent that you put in the garden, deceived me. Well, anyway, Donald Trump is in there. He's in there right next to Bill Clinton. Look. Let's see. Yeah, look, I see Donald. Bill Clinton. Donald Trump. And then, see, Look, I don't know. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, well, the reason I'm doing this talk is because this lady right here, it says Epstein's niece. Epstein's niece, and this guy Sean Atwood, who I don't know who he is or anything. I never really got into stuff that it's kind of like something you might see in the movies. It's it's a rabbit hole you can get sucked down into. But I have to talk about this one because this lady here, Epstein's niece, is talking to this guy, and she's telling him about some stuff about the cult of Baal. And I had mentioned Baal in one of my earlier conversations to you, my grandchildren, because I studied, I studied religion, and I studied the Bible, and I know that, early on there were the two major idols, forces, were worshipped in the early days. Baal, which is represented by the bull, and that's the god of brute force, and Ashtaroth, which is I think there's different kind of pictures of her, but of Ashtaroth, but she's the god of fertility. And anyway, those are kind of the two driving forces, and people, early civilizations, made gods out of those drivers. Just like the sun, for example, is also one of the early gods. And I'm not sure, I can't remember, but it might be like starts with an R. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm guessing right now, like Raal or Ramos, something. I'm pretty sure it starts with an R though. And there's other gods. And people make gods because the gods for them, represent forces in life. And now I am particularly fond of like the work of Joseph Campbell, because Joseph Campbell studied all these mythologies. And look, my approach has always been like you got to walk in another person's moccasins. And I have a tenderness and feeling, for the American Indians, and and that's why, because they were good people, and that's where our saying comes from, something about, walking in another person's moccasins. I think, don't judge them until you've, walked in their shoes. And anyway, the reason I have to do this talk is because the thing kind of grips me deep inside. It's the truth that I've been exposed to on multiple occasions. And it is, this like secret kind of cultish kind of phenomena that actually take place, okay? Now, this lady here, is talking about, I didn't listen to the whole thing yet. And it kind of really makes me feel like when I listen to this, because I knew another person the person I got Charlie Maximus from, I asked her, and I developed a relationship with her, to come from Virginia to Florida and help me teach Charlie, because she knew how to teach horses and dogs, and she was good at it. And but I brought a keg of beer from the brewery that I used to go to, Legend Brewery, back with me, and I couldn't keep her away from that thing, and she really showed a different side of herself. And over a relatively small amount of time, I found out that she had more than one personality. And I never believed early that people could have more than one personality. Like, I knew about this movie called Sybil, who supposedly had, like 16 personalities. And from the Bible, I knew about, people, like one of the guys that was crazy living among the tombstones or something like that, he was filled with what they called nowadays demons. And when Jesus cast a demon out of him, he talked to the demon or something, and the demon said that identified himself as Legion, because we are many. And people today look at those kind of phenomenons, or however you say it, and they put more current terminology to it, okay, like one of them is just downright crazy. Look, so anyway, this woman I knew, I can't even remember what her last name is anymore, but her name was Debbie, and I spent a lot of time with her, and I met her daughter. I met one of her daughters in Virginia, and I talked with another daughter on the phone extensively one time, or maybe a couple times, I don't remember. But I asked her, because eventually, Debbie told me that she had dissociative identity disorder, and for a time in her life, she had a different personality when she was married to somebody else, and she stayed in that personality for some time, and then, look, I don't want to go into every detail, but just to say, I don't think she was making everything up. And even my daughter Amber, seeing her one time talking to herself in two different, like, dialects. And I used to say, like, sometimes more thinking, these people are just crazy to say this kind of stuff. And the thing is, a lot of times there's a little bit of truth mixed with a little bit of lie, so you can't really tell the difference between what's true and what's not true. But this, and there's such thing as gaslighting, people will try to, like, gaslight. It's called, I think they made a movie out of it. I think that's where the term comes from. But gaslighting, other, like, try to gaslight somebody, like, it means, like, I'm pretty sure it came from a movie, okay? But I've never seen the movie. But I know what the phenomena is, and that is you try to trick somebody into thinking a certain thing that's not true. And the way you trick them is by giving them, substantial kind of stuff that they can base what they believe on. But you're tricking them, and you're making them believe something's not true. Right? And well, look, what this lady just watching was talking about is how when she was a kid, they would give her drugs and then have a ceremony, and like her own father would have somebody else rape her while she was intoxicated on some kind of like drug like LSD. Something's going to make you hallucinate. Okay. And so her recollection was these people were like lizards. Okay. And they do this stuff, and look, and so the reason I know that this stuff is actually true, there is, and is because Debbie told me the same stuff. All right. I don't think Debbie ever talked to this person. This person told me, Debbie told me exactly the same stuff that this person here is talking about. And Debbie was telling me how her family was a part of an occult. And I've seen her fight with her mom before, and her mom never denied it. So it's kind of funny for me, because she would say something, like, be fighting with her mom right in front of me about this stuff, and her mom didn't deny it. And I don't know if her mom just thought that Debbie was crazy, There's no use in trying to argue about something that's not real, or what. Look, she never told me. I talked to her in private too before, and she never told me that what Debbie was saying wasn't true. So Debbie told me. I'm not going to go into everything that Debbie told me, because that's really not the point. But the point is, I've seen things, and I've been told things that make me suspicious and even fear of what could actually be true. Look, even when I was in high school, the house right in back of me, this guy was arrested and thrown in jail for raping a 3-year-old little girl. She's talking about, like, Epstein, and she didn't say anything about former President Clinton yet, but Donald Trump was in here a couple of times, and Epstein is in here a couple of times. She told me that that lady, she told me, she's talking to this other guy, like, I'm taking this stuff so personally. It's kind of like, I'm feeling like, she told me. Well, it's because what she's saying is so similar to the same stuff that Debbie used to tell me about what happened to her when she was a kid and everything, and how she developed this dissociative identity disorder. and Debbie was really, really smart, like she could read. I've read some stuff that she used to read, and she could read it and then write out something like about it. And this stuff was so in depth that I would have had to read it like 5 times or something to actually even kind of figure out what even talking about. Yeah, Debbie was really smart. But anyway, look, this lady here is talking. She's not saying that she has dissociative identity disorder, but after I met Debbie, I did study up on that a little bit, you know, try to understand things, and and usually it is a result of some kind of trauma that it makes you disassociate, because you have to dissociate because the trauma is so overbearing that you can't live with it, you know. And that's that's really kind of what I really wanted to talk about in this talk, which I kind of hope is my last one. I don't want to talk no more. I don't want to talk about nothing anymore. I really do want to be left alone. Because look, I mean, I've already suffered a lot in my life, all right? I don't want to suffer no more. And I don't really feel the need to figure everything out anymore, okay? Like, I know when I die, okay, if there is a God, God's going to accept me because I'm honest. And, you know, I'm a protector, and I'm not a bad guy. I know the difference between good guys and bad guys, okay? Like these people here that she's talking about, and like what Debbie was talking about, okay? They're what you call Satanists. They worship Baal, the god of brute force, okay? They worship the devil, okay? And the devil, you know, they think, you know, it gives them power. I don't know why. Look, because I was always taught, you know, okay, no, nobody has more power than God. And God through the devil, the devil is a fallen angel that, you know, fell from heaven because, you know, he tried to wanted to take, you know, God's place, wanted to overthrow God. Now look, that kind of stuff is, in my opinion, you know, mythology. Like, I don't know, it's hard for me to actually believe that kind of stuff really, really, like, happened, but I have no explanation for what happened a million years before me. And I ain't got no foresight about what's going to happen a million years after me. And I don't have any idea what this life means. I just want to, and sometimes I feel like I'm done with this dream. Let me die. Like a Woody Guthrie song or something, you know. And Bob Dylan sings. And I'm just going to say, you know, Bob Dylan is my greatest mentor in my entire life. His music and his songs. Yeah, right. They have helped me and molded me. I take my hat off to Bob Dylan. But, you know, just thinking about that song, you know, let me die in my bootsteps or something like that. You know, Woody Guthrie sang a song about, you know, like, you know, from the mountains to the sea to this state to that state, you know. Well, I don't know, maybe this land is made for you and me, but that ain't what I'm singing about. But this is where, you know, Bob Dylan's got some good music, and one of them is about like that, you know. But, you know, I just want to die happy. I don't want to kill nobody. I have to kill nobody before I die either. And I don't want to have to go be in war. But you see, the thing is, all right, like, I've already been attacked enough in my life that I know, and since my dogs have actually been murdered, some of them, if somebody came on my property at nighttime and I seen them snooping around, I would not hesitate to kill them. That's a fact. Because I would believe that I would know exactly what they're up to. And if I don't kill them, they're going to kill me. Right? Or my dogs. Because people, do things in darkness. Right? And there's those people that do things in darkness. And they think they're going to get away with it. Those are the people that are the monsters. And look, man, certain things that I came to terms with as a little kid growing up. All right, like about darkness and stuff like that. Like I remember being afraid of the dark. That's probably what I should call this one. I'm afraid of the dark. And I know this world, man, has got a lot of darkness. And people do things in darkness. And what happened to this woman right here? Huh? Hey? It happened in darkness. And what happened to Debbie? I know something had happened to her. I don't think she's making all this stuff up. I mean, it happened in darkness. And I don't even like to watch scary movies myself because it affects me too much. And because I know darkness is real. Look, I mean, even as a kid, man, I'm just gonna say that sometimes life is scary. And you don't gotta be in darkness to imagine stuff and be afraid. There's a lot of scary stuff in life. And even like I've expressed my disdain for Donald Trump, okay? And like this Epstein guy, she's talking about him. And it's just so much stuff, man. It's and plus, okay, if she was drugged, no doubt she probably was raped over and over. I mean, I think she said she was, over and over and over. But, being drugged as a child. And people subject their own kids to this kind of stuff. There's monsters in the world. And we know there are monsters in the world because there's like sociopathic killers. Like that guy called Ted Bundy. And he could deceive people. Like he could present himself like a person who you might think, this guy is really got it going on, or professional or something. I mean, I know that he presented himself, in a way that he could trick people. And look, man, a little bit that I've seen, like I said, I don't really like to watch a lot of stuff about like this kind of stuff, but like I used to watch Criminal Minds, and they would do profile people and do character sketches and all that kind of stuff, and kind of flesh out the inner workings of a sociopathic mind. Person who's a sociopath, how their mind works and everything. And look, man, there's just so much. There's just so much darkness. I don't like being exposed to it. I have been exposed to it. And I know that my dad was exposed to it. And I know my grandpa, he was in World War II, I know he was exposed to it. And, a lot of people are exposed to it. They don't want to talk about it. And I don't really like talking about it either. But I'm afraid of it, and I'm afraid for it. And I'm afraid things, could descend into darkness. The Bible talks about outer darkness. And that's what hell is. Being separated from God. And I don't want to be separated from God. Sometimes the hell on this life and the darkness in this life can make a person think there can't be, God ain't anywhere around here. Because if God was around here, he would not allow this. I don't know how God could be looking at what's going on and not do something. There's got to be a better way. And if you're God, all-knowing and all-powerful and everywhere at once, the three attributes of God that they say, all-knowing, all-powerful, and everywhere at once. Omniscient, omnipresent, and, omniscient is all-knowing, omnipresent is everywhere at once, and, I forget what I said the other one was. All good? I don't know. All-powerful, and all-powerful. I don't know what the technical term is for all-powerful, but it's all-powerful. Also, by definition, God can't be known. Because we're nothing like God. No, I don't know. So, I hope this is kind of like I hope this is like what C.S. Lewis, said, in Shadowlands, real life hasn't begun yet. And I hope that love is eternal. And I think about I think about my kids and my grandchildren, because I'm responsible for my kids, and if it wasn't for me, my grandchildren wouldn't even be here. Well, they might be here, but not in the form that came from me. And I'm hoping that what I'm saying, can reach at least one of my grandchildren, and it might make an impact on you and help you along your way, because this world is full of darkness. Nobody knew this better than my mom. I know that. But she told me I had a guardian angel. And just speaking of that, like I get these messages from YouTube, sometimes about, like the angel Michael has a message for you. And they always tell you to write a number, or to say amen, or to make some kind of a comment. Which I never knew, because I think it was a bunch of bullshit most of the time. Because God ain't speaking to me that way. If God's going to speak to me, he's going to speak to me in my heart. Not through my phone. And it really kind of irritates me that, now I don't have any more favorites. And I feel like the dark side, and even in Star Trek, okay, they got the dark side, That's why I don't know. One time, like Donald Trump had like this, what you call it, lifesaver or something like that. This thing that comes out, with a sword. Because like I did see like at least one or two of the series. It's green. I think it's supposed to be green, but he had a red one, and a red one means that you're on the dark side. And so I don't know, Donald Trump. I don't know. He must not have known that, but he is on the dark side. He is. Time will tell. So Pam Bondi, she I remember it a long time ago when she took a bribe. That's how she got in her power. A lot of people will get in power because they accept bribes, and they'll do stuff. They'll work for the dark side. It's frightening. It's even like in slavery, man. Yeah, well, anyway, I've kind of blabbered on, but, you know, look, the only, like, advice I can give is to, you know, keep yourself, you know, tight. And that's why in the beginnings of my talks and everything, I'm talking about, you know, being grounded, sort of the spirit, you know, inspiration, and developing yourself internally, you know, your differentiation, and the integrating of everything that you're learning, because you gotta hold yourself together and be strong. Otherwise, life is gonna tear you apart. All right, bye.